I mean, you really do just see how helpless Tim Walz is in this conversation, that he goes, Steve Bannon's coming here, and however you feel about him, he's got like a pitch to the working class, and he's got an argument for how the government has betrayed them and what the plan is to get things back for them. And he goes, but he denied the election.
So Dave Smith recently had a podcast where he talked about, among other things, the state of the Democratic Party and the stable of hopefuls that the Democrats have to hopefully run and take the presidency back in 2028. And let's just say, Dave Smith thinks they're essentially lost in the wilderness. So I wanted to hear why. So let's watch and react.
Like, he can't get out of this like old box. Like, you're trapped in this old world, and that is over, dude. Like, that's just not how it works anymore. It's to me very interesting to watch who can adapt and who can't. That really is what it all comes down to. Any final thoughts on Gavin Newsom's podcast there, or any of the stuff, Rob?
I like that he's doing it because as all of the Joy Reids and everyone else gets cleaned out of cable media, at least we got a new person to get some clips from and criticize. So lucky for us, there'll be more people spewing absolute nonsense on new platforms, and we'll be able to tackle it.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I try. It's a weird feeling almost, in a way. I don't think we've ever really been quite here before, but I am more hesitant than ever. Like, when I'm finding clips, I'll see all the time just someone on CNN or someone on MSNBC saying the most retarded thing ever. And it's gotten to a point where it starts to feel beneath this show to be debunking that.
That's a really interesting thing to say. I mean, you are seeing a lot of the former establishment leftists start up new podcasts. Don Lemon did that. Now Gavin Newsom started to do that, and there's a few others. But I just remember a criticism that Van Jones had of the Democratic Party is that the Democrats kind of ignored these podcast opportunities for Biden and Harris. Biden for obvious reasons and Harris for obvious reasons. But it really did hurt them. And he just said, well, we need our own Rogan. And it's like, well, yeah, I guess you do. But the formula isn't just starting a podcast. It's saying the things that Rogan says, which are untouchable by the corporate media in many cases.
It's like, what am I even doing? No one's watching it.
Maybe you got to get on Newsom's show and take his soul. Just take him out of the race. Maybe that can be the next trophy for the Dave Smith soul collection.
Dude, I'd do that anytime. I'm not sure he would, but I would do Gavin Newsom's podcast in a heartbeat. I would love it.
And he had
man, I would love to see that too, by the way.
He did have Charlie Kirk on. That's true. I do think that Charlie Kirk, and I'm not saying anything bad about Charlie, because I like him. And he's been cool to me, and I've done his show a couple times, and I enjoy doing it. I think he's a smart guy. Like, I respect him. I do think that, there was I really appreciated this. I took it as a compliment, although it wasn't exactly a compliment. But I also did think there was something that was kind of an accurate assessment. So Patrick Bet-David, I think I'm almost 99% sure it was Patrick Bet-David was on Tucker Carlson's podcast. And it was ahead of the Cuomo debate. Like, the debate had been announced, but we hadn't done it yet. And I think that was the topic that came up. But I came up, and I think Pat asked Tucker something like, "Oh, how do you think that's going to go?" Or "How do you think?" And Tucker said, he goes, "The thing about Dave is that he's totally unencumbered. Like, he doesn't have anything that he's not allowed to say. Like, there's no, and I think what he was just getting at is that there's no, I'm kind of in a unique position where I make my money from the podcast and from touring on the road. There is no donor. There is no, we have sponsors on the show, but there's like zero pressure that comes from the sponsors we have. And this, as well as anyone, Rob, because for years we're working with some of these sponsors, but there's nobody, there's not, it is and literally, as I'm talking to you and Natalie, or the people on my team here on the show, you know this. It's inconceivable that one of our sponsors would put pressure on us over the content of our show, and that would have any result other than, oh, okay, go fuck yourself. You're not a sponsor on my show anymore. There's no like, this is the idea that like, you know, like Crowd Health is going to jump on me and be like, hey, Dave, you know, this thing you said. First off, most people like Crowd Health. Most of them are on board. And this is a great company, by the way, but they're on board because they like what we do.
And you really see this unencumbered nature of Dave when he's gotten into some of his debates. The most notable is when he was on Patrick Bet-David's podcast and debated Chris Cuomo on the COVID regime and things that Cuomo had said about COVID when he was an anchor on CNN, on I think CNN's most watched show at that point. Dave just annihilated him, but don't take it from me. Watch that. Everyone watching this should watch that. But Dave is right. You know, these small time podcasters aren't really beholden to like an intra-company, intra-firm lobby that you see from some of the corporate media giants. And Fox News isn't impervious to it. CNN's not impervious to it. And MSNBC certainly isn't either.
Because you know what I mean? Like it's so, and I think when Tucker said that, there was something about that hit home with me. Like I have no concern about like the billionaire that I have to meet with next month and whether we're going to get our check to keep going for the next year. And this is just something that happens. It's the nature of not government. It's the nature of just like the world when you get an entity that's as large as like Turning Point USA or something like that. And so in other words, I'm not going to the cocktail parties. I don't go to any cocktail parties. I don't even go to the Gas Digital parties. I would love probably to do those, but I just got little kids. I'm busy. But like I don't. There's nothing that would be taken away from me if I crossed this line. It's like whatever. I'm just in a unique position where I just get to tell the truth, and I've kind of built my career to be that way because that's what I like to do. And so there is just it's a safer proposition for Gavin Newsom to have Charlie Kirk on than it would be to have me on. Like there's just, if I, it would be like Chris Cuomo, like it's, to me, there's, and even though I'd probably, like the war and peace is probably like my number one issue that I care about the most. Like lockdown, I'm more furious at lockdown governors than I am at anybody else. And there'd be, the truth is me saying this out loud probably guarantees that I'll never be on the show, but it's a long shot anyway, so I don't care. But like, I'd go in with the mentality I went in with Cuomo. Like, I'm gonna fucking ruin you. Not just like, I guess I can't like ruin you exactly, but this will be an albatross around your neck for the rest of your public days. Like,
and why not? Those governors were total totalitarians. They brought authoritarianism to the American doorstep. So you can definitely see where Dave's coming from. The war and peace issue is certainly big for me too. And you guys can probably tell that if you watch the channel a lot. So can't blame Dave for that mentality. They literally, kept people essentially under house arrest. People couldn't, get in contact with their elderly parents who were dying in hospitals at this time. Children's sports canceled. Religious services canceled by the government. Prohibitions on public assembly and religious worship. The mask mandates. I don't have to talk about the COVID vaccine mandates. It was all just an edifice of lunacy that really pushed forward totalitarianism in America in a way that we had essentially never seen before. And essentially no heads have rolled over it either.
This will be something that it's like, but remember when that guy took your fucking soul? Like that's what it would be. And I don't think Charlie Kirk went in with that attitude. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a different, I'm a different animal in that way. And that's not to say I'm better or smarter or anything like that. It's just, we're different people in different positions and we have different styles. So anyway, I don't think that's going to happen, but man, I would do that in a second. Man, would I love to do that. Okay, so the other thing, by the way, is speaking of, so what I will find for the shows now is like, okay, so like this, like again, okay, so Joy Reid is gone, but like whoever the next stupid lady at MSNBC is, I'm having a tougher and tougher time justifying like playing a clip of them because you're just like, no one watched this, no one takes this seriously. It's kind of low hanging fruit.
It's so ironic too, because 4 years ago, if that would have happened, it was a completely different dynamic where, you know, that's all a lot of these podcasters did, because they were still seen as respectable organs of kind of the political establishment that a lot of people watched news of. And still a lot of elderly people do that, but it really is a generational divide, and dying and dying and dying more and more so.
But when Gavin Newsom is now starting a podcast and looks like the 2028 frontrunner, that's worth, you know what I mean, like taking on. Likewise, to set up this next clip, when the most powerful Democrat in the Senate is going on The View, I still think that's legitimate to a legitimate target, because this is somebody with actual political power, and he is kind of the de facto leader or the co-leader. I guess it's him and Nancy Pelosi are still kind of the leaders of the Democratic Party, which is remarkable in a sense. It's really, and I know this is a point that you've made many times, Rob, but it's really something about DC where, like, in almost any other area of life, you simply cannot fail as catastrophically as Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi have failed and just continue on. I mean, there's no company where there wouldn't be a shakeup, no matter how high up it is. I mean, this could be the CEO or the CFO of a company. If they failed this spectacular, we're looking for a new CEO. You know, like that's it. In a marriage, if you fail this spectacularly, it ends in divorce. If I mean, there's just nothing in life where there aren't some repercussions, except for in DC, where you can just fail and fail and fail and fail, and you know you could, and then still be outraged if anyone suggests you leave. And still be, what do you mean you're going to cut the Department of Education? What? Like, Department of Education? What? Like, we spend so much goddamn money on education, and our kids can't read. And they're like, still, you can't cut us. Here is Chuck Schumer on The View, giving his pitch to the American people.
I can't wait.
I'm sort of the orchestra leader, and I have a lot of talent in that orchestra. So what I do is I show them off. We have some great spokespeople, people like Chris Murphy and Brian Schatz. Right. We have, Democrats are learning to do the digital social media much better than we did before. I put Cory Booker and Tina Smith in charge. And then we have Bernie going out to Republican areas and doing rallies and rallying. So we have a load of talent in our caucus. And I'll tell you one thing, we are totally united in one thing.
Pause it already, because, and then just go back a little bit, because I want to get that next statement in there. But dude, to just say I have a load of talent and then to rattle off the most pathetic list of names, I mean, it's just like, talk about not contending with reality. Oh yeah, we've so much talent. I mean, we could throw Cory Booker at him if we needed to.
Yeah, man, Schumer, I am not envious of his position here. He has to pretend that kind of the worst stable of stale stuff suit Democrats are kind of the winning formula for the future. And it's an uphill battle that no one can climb that mountain.
Cory Booker, dude. What did that guy get when he ran for president? Anything? Was he at 1% in the polls?
It's worse than that. I mean, I've said it that the Democrats, listen, we'll see. They might do all right depending on how bad Trump does. But at the moment, they have nobody on their bench. And the fact that they have Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders trying to be out there selling the Democratic message just speaks to currently how doomed they are.
And they're almost all so old. I mean, Pelosi and Schumer. And obviously Biden is aging. Bernie is a dinosaur now. There's very few young people in those stables, maybe except for Newsom and potentially AOC angling for a presidential run. I don't think Booker is even going to have a shot at it, but maybe Newsom or AOC. So the aged dinosaurs of the Warrens and Bernies and Schumers of the world just aren't doing it for the average person. And it's pretty clear to see, even if you're not taking polls every day.
But when you start talking about their social media presence, and we played some of the horrific clips that they had over the last couple weeks, Cory Booker had a particularly bad one where he wrote that script where everyone, here's the thing, like they're trying, for all the talk that they did of Donald Trump and the dignity of the office, now they're trying to be cool and like throwing curse words, but it just doesn't match their style and it doesn't fit for them. And also the internet has picked up on, oh, everyone's reading the exact same script. What is this? And so it was something, I think the line was like, that shit just won't stand or something, just it was not good. And Cory Booker had to come forward afterwards and go, yeah, I wrote that. And so the fact that that's the name being thrown out there right now of, oh, I got this guy and he's running our social media strategy. Talk about not adapting, of that you can't find a single marketing company with the millions. I mean, the fact that I guess it speaks to the $1.2 billion that Kamala Harris spent not being reelected and how much the marketing companies failed her in trying to put together a strategy and what she paid to digital marketing companies. But to sit here right now, right after Cory Booker had a big swing and a miss and go, don't worry, our bench is doing okay. We're getting the social media thing that the kids like, and I've got Cory Booker working on it. Just sounds like it's like the guy trying to flip a burger that's got a piece of cheese on it and the oven's not on. You do not know how to do this.
That was a classic, right? I'm sure most people watching this know this, but famous photo from last year, Chuck Schumer on a grill during the 4th of July and trying to be an all-American dad, right? Grilling burgers for the family. And it's a raw burger with a piece of cheese on top, proving, in fact, that Schumer has never grilled in his entire life. But that's just kind of a microcosm for how out of touch the Democratic Party is and its leadership.
Yeah, there's look, this is an element to it that it's like it's like it's not as simple as like we've got to be on social media, because it's like you could go viral on social media in a bad way. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference between going viral and something that's helpful and something that's disastrous, you know?
Yeah, don't go the Kanye route, right?
Kamala Harris had a ton of things that went viral during the election when she said on The View that she couldn't think of anything that she would have done differently than Joe Biden. That went viral. It also destroyed any chance she had, if she had any chance of winning the election.
Yeah.
And it gives off, it just gives off such imposter energy. Like it's like, oh, say what you will about Donald Trump, but he was always being Donald Trump. It wasn't like there was some other Donald Trump and he was trying to be just like that. And, it's like they're going and doing things that are like, they'll be doing like an internet viral trend, but it was like a trend 3 years ago. And then they come out and do it and you're like, no, that's all wrong.
Yeah, that was cringe, especially last week when they had the Democrats like jumping up like they're ready to fight and you're supposed to choose your fighter. That was the most cringe thing I've possibly ever seen. But Dave makes a good point here, because what it's like is these Democrats have to put on a show. But the problem is their top opponent, Trump, made his living in the show business. He made his living on television. He was already a showman, but that's part of who Donald Trump is. So his opponents have all looked like frauds in comparison.
Like that's not how this works. So yes, anyway, it is just delusional. I mean, maybe this is just what he has to say and he knows the truth, but it is delusional to be like, we have this strong bench and they're really connecting with social media and all this shit. The truth is that even amongst things like, okay, there's that Call Her Daddy podcast. And I don't know exactly, I saw some of the episode of Kamala Harris. I've never watched that podcast before. I don't really think it's for me. But from what I understand, it does get a lot of views. And so it's like, it's a big show, but even amongst people who watch that show, it's not necessarily moving the needle that Kamala Harris went on it. And something like, say, for example, like Taylor Swift is undeniably huge. She's the biggest musician, I think, ever. I think her last tour was like the biggest tour in history. But her telling people to vote for Kamala Harris didn't move the needle at all. And so it's like the truth is that the Democrats.
They even brought out Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill to try that too, and Stephen King. There's a lot of kind of these just, unenthusiastic endorsements for Kamala Harris among a host of celebrities that didn't really seem to make an impact.
Are just, you kind of can't overstate it. They're getting annihilated in the podcast social media game. Just destroy. So for him to sit here and say, we've gotten better and we got Cory Books out there doing it, it's like, yeah, come on, dude. This is total bullshit.
So there you go. That's kind of Dave's state of the Democratic Party. I largely agree with them. Dave seems pretty confident that they have no one, and I kind of agree. He makes really good points. I tried to chime in with my 2 cents too, but one thing I will just say is that politics is a long game, and 4 years from now is a long way away, and a lot can happen in that time. There could be an actual regional war that breaks out in the Middle East, especially if Russia gets involved. Syria, Israel occupies Syria, or the U.S. bombs Iran, and the Saudis might press back against the Yemeni Houthis again. We don't really know what's going to happen, but U.S. involvement in these theaters make it more and more hard to avoid kind of the global geopolitical catastrophes that unfold if you're the president. Same thing would happen under an economic collapse too. We don't know what's in the book of fate to tell that yet. And, I don't know. In 2004, no one knew who Barack Obama was. He was a rising star, within essentially 1 year, and a lot of people didn't think that he could beat Hillary for the nomination. So you never know what's going to happen. The Democrats will throw up contenders, but their energy right now is old and stale and cringe. Those are the 3 words to describe it. We'll see if they can fix it, but I don't know if they can. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think that Democrats will have a resurgence during this term at all and have a chance to take the presidency in 2028? Let me know in the comments. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and as we always say here at Liberty Vault, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. I'll check you in the next one. Peace out.